All right, welcome. My name is Scott Engler. I'm a published author and thought leader on career transitioning and contemporary job search strategies, branding yourself on LinkedIn really to get that next job you want, attracting the right recruiters, and thriving in your career. So today I want to talk about something that's based on interesting conversation I had at a networking event last night, and it's called Debunking the Myth of Being Too Old to Get the Next Job, right? So I hear this, before I get into the story from last night, I hear this story all the time from clients I've had over the years. I typically work with 45 to 65-year-olds, so I definitely hear this fear, or I call it a limiting belief, a lot. And what I found in doing this work for a while and having one-on-one clients and taking calls with frustrated job seekers is that without exception, or with few exceptions, I should say, I can't think of any exceptions right now, but every single person I've ever worked with or spoken with has had one insecurity or hang up as to why they think their situation is the way it is. Why they think their situation is the way it is. So it could be, I'm too old, right? I don't have enough qualifications. I don't have the right qualifications. I'm asking for too much, too high of a salary. There's so many different things. And I know part of that is because of the feedback, or lack of feedback, I should say, they get from interviewing, right? So when any human being is experiencing this and these frustrations and this lack of clear communication, it's really easy to just fall back on whatever that limiting belief or reason, like that insecurity we have, what we interpret it to be. And so I found that really interesting, that without exception, people always have like a view that they're really adamantly hanging on to. So I'm going to talk about the age one, because last night I was at a networking event, and one of the guys, as soon as he heard what I did, was talking about how he's been a software engineer for 40 years and he just hasn't been able to find a regular job. And it's definitely, in his mind, he was set on the fact that it is definitely because he's too old. So my first question to him was, I said, well, has anyone ever told you that it's because you're too old? He's like, well, no, but they said I'm not a good fit for the culture and this, that, and the other. And, kind of started rehearsing what he was going into. And I could tell the guy just wanted to talk, and he wasn't really in a place where he really was interested in hearing anything other than what he believed to be true. So I didn't get too into it with him. I mean, he approached me, so I just kind of let him do his thing. I was like, okay, well, maybe those aren't the right fits for you. And seems like I'm sure you're good at what you do. But what I did want to say, if he was open to hearing it, and if other people weren't around, I didn't want to, I didn't feel like it was right to say anything in that place. But if he was really coming to me frustrated and, why is this happening? It's got to be my age. If he had a different energy about him, what I would have told him, honestly, I would have said, sir, I actually prefer a lot of times to work with people of your age. I've found my clients that are in the baby boomer generation have a really good work ethic. They definitely, they have a less of a sense of this entitlement. They know how to work diligently and be dedicated and committed. And so I love working with people that are in that generation. And so I don't think that's the reason. To be honest, I wouldn't hire you in particular because in the last 10 minutes, you've really come off as not teachable or coachable. You've come off as pretty self-absorbed, and you've come off as arrogant. And those would be the reasons that I wouldn't hire you. Not because I don't think that you aren't great at what you do, not because I don't think you have a unique skill set that you've crafted over the years, not because I think you're too old and I don't think you're capable or competent anymore to carry out work tasks. Those are the reasons that I wouldn't hire you. So that's my direct feedback. And so I think because in the job search era, we don't get, or the process, I should say, we don't usually get that kind of direct feedback, right? Unfortunately, legal matters, there's all sorts of things as why we don't. But that would have been my honest feedback. Now, again, it's subjective, but it's really what the truth for me. It had nothing to do with his age, but I would have been truthful that like, hey man, I don't know why other people are saying you're not a good fit or you're not getting callbacks, but here's why. after talking to you for this amount of time, I honestly wouldn't hire you. I wouldn't want to work with you or have you work for me, to be perfectly honest. And here's why. So I've had clients, and this is where it's called the debunking the age myth. I've had clients that have said that had exactly the same fears. They've had the same fear of feeling too old, or they're being told they're too qualified and getting all sorts of weird, nebulous feedback, or not direct feedback, right? You just weren't a good fit, or those kind of the jargon that companies could use. And I've watched my clients overcome those limiting beliefs and get jobs that they loved. So I know that it's just a limiting belief. On the same token, sometimes you may not just be a good fit, and that may be something that company doesn't want, and that's perfectly fine, and their own opinion. And so let me give you a pertinent example I was thinking about this morning, because I'm grateful for that conversation I had with that guy, because I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, wow, that guy just wasn't receptive to anything that anyone else had to say. But what it made me think of was, I love obviously comparing job searching to dating, because I find the analogies are so pertinent and true. So if you were going on dates with, let's say it's a guy and a girl, right? And the girl is telling you that some girls, if they're not interested, they'll say, I just didn't feel chemistry. I didn't feel like there was a good connection. They may say, I'm just not really attracted to you in that way. And that's the truth. Now, is there other reasons? Of course there's other reasons. So here's what happens as a guy. If you keep going on dates with women and you're getting rejected after rejected, and you're hearing some of the same things, what we are going to default to is whatever our insecurity is. So if you keep getting told, there's just not an attraction, this, that, and the other, like, I'll be honest, like right now I put on a significant amount of weight since I moved out of state and just started my own business and had it full time. So that might be an insecurity for me, is like, well, she's just saying that. Cause in my head, when I hear it's not a good fit, I'm thinking in my head, oh, it's definitely because I'm overweight. And that's the reason why she's not wanting to date me, or she's saying that there's no chemistry or that. So that's probably going to be one of my predominant things. Or, there's been times it's like where you don't have that much money or something, or maybe, you're whatever, you don't have a car or all sorts of things. So you're like, oh, she definitely doesn't want to be with me because I don't have enough money. And it's whatever you're insecure about that starts to come up. And I find the same exact thing that happens with people for job searching. Whatever that insecurity is that they have in their head, whether it's, real or whatever, or fancied, it's always just whatever is in their mind and whatever is an insecurity of theirs. And the truth is, with the age thing and whatnot, if I was a 45-year-old guy and I was only asking out 24-year-old girls and they were saying no, or, I don't think it'd be a good fit, or it wasn't a good fit, like if I was just feeling rejection from that age of girls, it may very well be true that I'm just too old for them and they're not going to say it. And that's fine. And that's the beauty of life. So what I was thinking of with that guy is maybe, he was talking about some company that had like all 25, 30-year-olds, and they said that he used that as an example, as one example. I was like, well, hey, maybe you weren't a good age fit there. If everybody, it's true. It's like if everybody's 25 at this event, or you're working on a team and you're the only 65-year-old and they're all 25, you're probably not going to mesh well with them. And so that's another truth. So finding things where there is a good culture that has, a more diverse age range is probably, it's not a bad thing, and it's nothing to personalize. So that's my point today, is like, if you're getting told you're too old and everybody that works there is 21 years old, then maybe your age and like your maturity level just isn't in line with that. And my point is, why would you want to work there? Not why they don't want you. I don't want to date 21-year-old girls because they're too young for me now. There's just a maturity and life experience level. And I'm just sharing that openly because it's true. And so is there exceptions? Always exceptions. But I wouldn't want to hang out with that age group unless I'm, mentoring college entrepreneurs or whatever, which is always fun. But as far as like a work capacity and certain things, like I don't think that there would be a synchronicity. And so because of that, I wouldn't want to work there. And so you should look at it the same way. Don't just think about what they want and what they're telling you. Think about what you really want. And that's really the point I want to share. Is the first point is stop personalizing it so much. And if it is something that like, hey, you know, overweight or things that are in your control, like, guess what? There's things you could do about it. If you don't have some certification that you know that you need to get and you've been procrastinating and it's not super expensive and you can probably do it online and it's part of your career development that you probably need to transition, do it. You know what I mean? Like I help people transition sometimes without that, but sometimes you do need to take the extra step to get something to show that you're serious about it, right? So you know within yourself what's in your control and what's out of your control. And I think the takeaway that I want to share with people is not to take it so personally when you aren't getting the results you want. Why don't you step back and reevaluate what you really want and what would align for you? And so if you're doing that, then you're going to find that you're going to align much better with the types of opportunities that you're attracting. If you're putting that out there, if you're articulating it well, if you could be congruent about what you do and how you could best help an organization, the types of organizations that should be reaching out to you, then you will start, this is a promise I've experienced in my own job searching history. Is like when I got more clear about what I wanted to align with, the types of organizations, what I wanted to be doing, I started to attract better opportunities than I'd ever experienced in my life. But I had to let it begin with me. And the last point is, please, if you just start to question, if you're thinking, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, start to really ask, am I actually hearing that from people, or is that just a big insecurity of mine? And start to look at it more objectively. Maybe I am interviewing for startups with 22-year-olds and I'm 65. Maybe that's not really a good cultural fit. I don't have to take it as such an assault to my character, right? It's just certain things don't work at certain times in our life. So you don't have to feel bad about it. Just see where you would be a better fit and what would be more aligned with where you're at right now in your life. So that's what I got today. I am working with people right now, helping them brand themselves on LinkedIn. If you are seriously interested in really revamping your life resume, as I like to call it, on a site where 95% of recruiters are looking for top talent, LinkedIn is the place to be right now. Online job applications are not. That's where a 2% response rate in the industry is. LinkedIn's where 95% of recruiters around the world are looking for top talent. That's where 93% of recruiters are vetting candidates. So as I say, you're a guppy in a fish of over 500 million people, so the competition's fierce. And if you really want to stand out and have a decked out profile and presence online, send me a message with Serious Inquiry and we'll talk then. Thanks so much.